Welcome to Retirementals, a podcast that dives headfirst into the issues facing the financial sector at the intersection of investment, technology and financial advice. Hosted by Abraham Okusanya, you can expect raw honesty, critical analysis and energetic interviews. Here is your host, Abraham Okusanya.
I'm delighted to introduce my guest today. She's the Chief Client Officer of the national advice firm, Succession, and the newly elected President of the Personal Finance Society. Tell us a little bit about your career, about your journey to the top of the profession.
Yeah, I think I've had an interesting journey, shall we say, and certainly 20 years ago, when I was starting out, I never really thought I would end up doing what I'm doing. I think, I left school not really knowing what I wanted to do. I did my degree at Leeds University in medical biochemistry, so a long way away from what I do today. And at the time, the national firm, at the time Intra-Alliance, some people may remember that company, was setting up an office in Nottingham, and I saw basically an article in the local paper and saw that they were setting up, and I thought, that sounds quite interesting. Working with finance, I'd always been interested in numbers, needed a job, so I gave them a call, and I got a job as an administrator. What I saw from kind of the profession as an IFA, I thought, I really like this and I really want to sort of help people with their money. So I essentially spent sort of the first 12 months at Intra-Alliance getting some qualifications, and then opportunity arose at Scotec, now obviously part of Aegon, as one of their sort of broker consultants. And this was around the time of sort of stakeholder pensions coming in and kind of changes there. So it was a really exciting time, but I always knew that I wanted to be back on the other side of the fence, in that sort of financial advice space, and being able to work with clients to sort of understand their financial picture, help them build financial resilience and ultimately live the life that they want to live. And I think one of the biggest changes for me and exciting bits of my career that really helped me was when my husband got the opportunity to go and work in the Middle East, in Dubai, at the height of the credit crisis. Timing wasn't brilliant, but it gave me the opportunity to set up my own company that I thought, I'd spent a couple of years thinking I really want to do this. So it gave me that opportunity, and I set up the wealth consultancy, not really fully aware of kind of what the market in the Middle East was like and how I would be able to find a way, shall we say, to trade, particularly given, as I say, it was the height of the credit crisis. But I knew that if clients sort of wanted to continue to work with me, then it was going to be viable in the UK from day one. And that's when I came together with Killick. That, I had 7.5 wonderful years at Killick, 4 of which were essentially operating in the Middle East and also leading the UK financial planning team as well. And so I think, the experience that I've had, and then from Killick I went to Mazars, where I was a partner at Mazars. So partner of the main Mazars firm, obviously focused on financial planning. And again, a different kind of business model and a different business dynamic, really operating in that professional services space with different clients. So throughout my career, I've had a lot of variety. I've worked kind of for a provider. I've worked in an employee benefits business. I've run my own business. I've worked in an investment management business and professional services. And now Chief Client Officer of Succession Wealth. So it's been very varied, which I guess is kind of keeps the interest going as well.
I'm fascinated about this move to Dubai. What was that like? Were you a regulated, UK regulated business trading in Dubai, or did you have to be regulated in Dubai, to give financial advice over there?
Yeah, so the wealth consultancy in the UK was regulated through the FCA. And then at that time, the Middle East, or the offshore financial services market, was in a very different space to the UK, and probably about 10 years behind. So you had about 3 different competing entities where you could almost try and get a license to operate. And really, I needed to offer the true financial planning fee-based service, I needed to be regulated by the Dubai Financial Services Authority. And at that time, Dubai was still, and they still do, I mean, the fees for those licenses were astronomical. And you had to pay basically, I needed 2 licenses, each license costing $50,000 a license. Wow. And non-refundable if you didn't get the license. So you had to pay it. So basically it was too much of a commitment and too much of a risk, which is where I kind of approached Killick and sort of suggested that there was a way in which we could come together, because they had the licenses, and obviously through financial planning and using their investment management service, then we could really give a great service to the clients out there, which was different to what others were doing, because there's no kind of commission disclosure or anything, as I say, kind of 10 years behind the UK. And so what we were offering really was kind of best of breed for out there. It was, run of the mill, shall we say, or fairly standard as far as the UK market was concerned. But it did kind of really create an opportunity for me and for Killick in the way in which we came together.
So let's talk about today, Chief Client Officer at Succession. Tell us about Succession as a business today. Give us an insight to the business and your role within it.
Yeah, so Succession, it's grown really rapidly in the last 5 years or so. Acting really kind of, shall we say, as a consolidator, and acquiring a number of businesses, around 50 businesses over the last 5 years. So it's grown substantially. We now have around 170-ish, 180 financial planners. We have offices from sort of Stornoway all the way down to Truro. So we really, truly are a national business. But the focus is very much about being a national business and the benefits of kind of scale, shall we say, in size, but making sure that we're delivering a local service and, not losing sight of the importance of kind of that personal and local service. And as far as my role's concerned, Chief Client Officer, naturally, as you would expect, my role's really much focused around kind of the client experience, and everything to do with the client. So thinking about the proposition and kind of how we deliver our proposition through kind of the client journey, and making sure that we've got a really strong and great client experience through that client journey. And also I chair the investment committee. And I think one of the sort of unique strengths, shall we say, of Succession is that from, when it was very first established, we set up what's called the investment matrix. So working with 13 or so really, strong investment partners from a broad range of investment styles, from active to passive, and a really strong governance framework around the investment matrix, which I think creates one of the unique aspects of what we can deliver to our clients. So I chair that investment committee too. And yeah, it's fun. I'm so passionate about kind of clients and what we do as a profession, and how we can really help individuals with their finances. So I'm loving the role, and there's plenty for me to get my teeth into, particularly when we kind of think about the proposition and, what a client really wants from their financial advisor and their financial planner. So yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit then. What clients really want. What the hell do they want from their financial management?
I think, I think the biggest thing, and, very much the vision for Succession Wealth is to be the trusted advisor of choice. And I think the most important thing, money is such a personal thing for individuals. So they need to have great trust in their financial advisor around kind of having those open and honest dialogues around their finances. But I think ultimately it's about making clients have confidence in their financial future. And with the pandemic and the last 12 months or so, there's a lot of focus on sort of people's health, people's mental well-being, but equally important is people's financial well-being. And that really is a focus for us, is how we can make sure that clients have that confidence in their financial well-being. The last 12 months have really demonstrated to individuals that you need financial resilience in whatever shape or form. And so I think really looking, in general, clients, individuals of the UK society look to financial advisors to give them that confidence, to give them, should we say, the plan, and really have that trust that they'll be okay.
Succession was kind of one of the early pioneers of the integrated advice model in the post RDR world, with ownership of a platform, the control over the investment bit, and then the advice. And I felt that as an industry, we spent huge amount of time at the time debating that model of business and, conflict and all that stuff. But I guess that today, Succession's proven that model, and there are now several players in the market, coming in to build a national integrated wealth management business.
Succession is very much, we have that integrated approach for our clients through the use of the Succession platform and the use of some of our investment solutions. But also key for us, and one of our, I suppose, real differentiators, is that we've maintained our independence as well. So whilst we have that Succession platform, we also work with 3 or 4 key other, should we say, platform providers. And through the use of the investment matrix as well, we can really demonstrate how we've researched the whole of the market and sort of filtered, shall we say, the best of breed investment solutions to meet our clients' needs. And that's under constant review. So we review on an annual basis kind of our approach to the platform market too. So I think to a certain extent, that is a true kind of uniqueness of Succession, is how we've managed to balance making sure that we kind of deliver the best to our clients, but also that important aspect of independence. We try to be really pragmatic. Clients don't fit neatly into boxes. Everyone is unique. Everyone has different set of requirements. And we try to really recognize that as to how we work with our clients.
Let's talk about, how if you can give us a glimpse into how you're approaching technology at Succession. What's your view on how do you see that impact the role of the advisor and the cost of advice?
Yeah, and I think, it's, again, it's another one that we kind of debate over and over and over again, shall we say, in the profession. And I think, this last year has taught a lot of businesses a lot around technology, shall we say, and indeed society a lot around technology. We've got, grandparents now, even my own parents, using FaceTime to babysit my children for me type thing. So, we've got people...
Well, nice use of FaceTime.
Exactly. But we've got so much more use of technology. Society has adapted really quite well to the use of technology over the last 12 months. And, you say, last year was talked about that we had sort of 5 years worth of change in 5 months and everything. And so I think it's really important that, we as a profession, we as a business view technology as an enabler rather than fear it. I think, go back 5 years or so when we started to see kind of more robo-advisors coming into the market, Scalable Capital, Nutmeg, and these businesses. There were a lot of advisors really fearing them and thinking, what impact is that going to have on our business and our business model? And I think ultimately, robo-advisors to a certain extent have helped our profession because they've raised awareness of kind of what we do and also kind of how we as individuals in society engage with technology has really changed. Far more people are using internet banking. We're seeing kind of, should we say, the death of the banks on the high street, which, again, I find quite sad because there's a lot of people that still want or need to go into a bank, but most people are using internet banking and therefore are used to seeing their finances online and having access at a point at which they want to have access. And I think that's the key. And I think it's about getting that right balance between kind of having a client experience, a client journey that's technology driven, but there's also that human interaction because, there's no doubt that technology can help kind of from an efficiency perspective. So I think it's really important that kind of as a profession and Succession as a business, we're absolutely embracing technology. I think, one of the biggest challenges and kind of one of the frustrations for us across the profession is kind of the different approach to technology that you see across different providers, and how kind of we're still struggling these days, aren't we? APIs have got better, but we're still struggling with clients having that kind of aggregated view, real-time view of their wealth, unless it's kind of all in one place. Open banking's helping, but we need to help clients. A computer cannot replace the rich conversation that a financial planner can have with a client around kind of their goals, their aspirations and everything. But what it can do is create an environment that the client has access to the information so that when they're talking to their financial planner, they're having that more meaningful conversation around their finances rather than, for example, the financial planner needing to update the fact find. That's where technology really helps us.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. I think you touched on a subject that is very close to my heart. When I think about the stuff that we're building, that we're doing at Timeline. So open APIs, for instance, we're still very the industry as a whole still a long way away in terms of we want to, for instance, pull data from platforms. It's a massive headache. We're seeing some movement there, but it's still very much a massive headache. And then you talked about open banking, the ability to use that in fact finding and client reporting, and again in updating the plan. Open banking is fine, but open finance, the investment side of it, is still very much a lot of hard work. The thing though that I've been spending a lot of time thinking about is that there is a perception generally in the fintech world that, and generally in the technology world, that the pandemic has basically accelerated the use of technology, by about, by about 3, maybe 5 years, so what would, I remember you and I talking before the pandemic at the Science of Retirement Conference, and you were talking about this idea of using technology, for the client of the future and, maybe less so for the client of today. But I think to an extent, the pandemic just basically obliterated that dichotomy in the sense that everybody, the older population, the younger ones, everybody needs to, was forced to use technology. And I don't think we're going back. I'm keen to hear your view. Do you think we're going to go back to the world of paper-driven client reporting and fact-finding? And if not, what do technology providers need to start doing today to meet that demand that we're seeing from clients?
Yeah, and I think, I fully kind of agree with what you're saying around, going back to the Science of Retirement conferences, we're talking about kind of clients, still very much got clients of today and clients of the future, but their kind of requirements from a tech perspective has, almost like the clients of today have caught up with the clients of the future because of the pandemic. And I think, I feel very strongly and very passionately around the fact that, we cannot go back to how we were, because the world has moved at a really fast pace, and actually, no one really wants to receive a load of paper anymore. We're all more aware of kind of the impact of using paper as well, and kind of the environment, and how many trees you need to cut down for, a provider statement or annual illustration. We don't want to go there. We need to continue to use technology and improve. And I think that's one of the key things and we've always had this focus at Succession, is how we've pivoted and how we've sort of engaged with technology more over the last 10 months is about making sure that we're making change for the long term, not kind of the short term, if that makes sense. And I think as a profession and other businesses, that really needs to be the focus. Yes, we don't want every client meeting to be like this over Zoom or kind of Teams or whatever. We do want to go back to that kind of interaction from that perspective. But the use of kind of technology to surface information rather than wait for sort of kind of an annual statement to appear in the post, we can't be doing that. And I think the key for me is really the providers, the platforms, the investment houses and staff we all need to get better as to how we're showing the information to our clients, that it's in a kind of clear and simple sort of jargon-free language, so that when a client logs on to their portal to see their personal finances, they understand it. It's easy to understand.
I couldn't agree anymore. So you were recently elected the president of the Personal Finance Society. Congratulations. I know you've been on the board for many years now. I don't know, since 2015, maybe longer. Congratulations. This happened right in the middle of the pandemic, though, and you got the next, I don't know, clock is ticking 12 months. What are your priorities as the president?
In some ways, I'm kind of quite disappointed that sort of my year as president is sort of in a pandemic, as it were, and therefore, I can't get out as much as I'd like to around kind of the regions and at sort of live events to meet with the members and kind of do more sort of in person with the members. But my theme for the year is building a strong and sustainable future for the profession. So I can do that remotely. And I think really when we talk about kind of, and the theme, I suppose, is very apt, given the situation that we find ourselves in as a society and as a profession. And I think there's three main aspects that I'm really trying to talk more about and raise awareness and sort of, should we say, drive I suppose more sharing of knowledge across the profession. And so it's about kind of how do we encourage that next gen planner. We've come a long way, but we've still got an awful lot of work to do, I think, as a profession, for people to be making that choice. I want to be a financial planner, like historically people have wanted to be an accountant or a doctor or whatever. So kind of how we can maybe use the Aspire apprenticeship program, particularly, given the circumstances, that, how do people get a foot into the profession? And apprenticeships is a great way, and particularly the impact that the pandemic's had on school leavers and kind of those, sort of heading off to university, and their university experience hasn't been what they were hoping for from October. The apprenticeship program route can be a really strong way into the profession. So talking more about that, but also kind of when you think about us as a profession, we're going through this this kind of change, really, where sort of what I call the first generation of planners are looking to ultimately retire. And, you know, we've talked about that in the profession for some time. And then we've got the next gen planners kind of coming through and sort of building their client bases. So how as a profession can we get better in that transition and create that really strong kind of client relationship trust as part of that transition? Because, you know, for the first gen planners, they've maybe worked with their clients for 20 years. We talked about trust earlier, and it's all about trust. So how do you build that trust that the client has in the next gen, and the confidence for the first gen planners to kind of retire and do what they want to do? So I think that's a really important aspect. And I think as businesses, we can learn more from each other as to kind of how you do that and how you do that client transition, because that's very much a focus at Succession as well, is how do we make sure that we have that best client experience as we transition the relationships. And then I suppose the third strand is very much what we've just been talking about for the last 10, 15 minutes, the business model. What are we, you know, how do you have and make sure that you've got a sustainable business model? How are we using technology as part of that to make us stronger? But also how are we kind of looking at our pricing and kind of making sure that we're delivering value to clients, but actually, you know, we're still viable, profitable businesses because of the challenges around kind of cost and everything. So I think, you know, it's a really interesting time for society, but for our profession, because now more than ever, people need financial help and financial advice and everything. So it's a real opportunity for us as a profession, but we need to be focused on how we kind of make sure that it's sustainable and we continue to engage society more in kind of the benefits of financial advice, the benefits of kind of having your plan and knowing what your plan is to have that confidence in your financial well-being.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for your honesty, for your wisdom, for sharing, your thoughts with us on the program. As we start to wrap up, I want to just pick up a few things. These are more on the personal side, if I may. And one of the things I've been wondering is, what is it like for you rising to the top of the profession in what is, let's face it, a white male-dominated industry? And what advice do you have on how we raise more leaders, more executives that look like you?
I'm not sure anyone wants to look like me, but
I mean, look more like you.
I think certainly in my time, kind of in the just under 20 years that I've been in the profession, we have seen it evolve. Not as quick as I would like to see it evolve. And I think some of this comes back to what we were just talking about of, you know, making financial planning, making kind of chartered financial planner a really attractive, and people being aware that actually that's the career that they want. But we are starting to see more kind of female leaders, and I've never wanted it to be seen as, oh, we need a female, let's get Sarah type thing and tick a box. But
no, absolutely not. The trouble is that the structure of the workplace and the profession makes it harder, so that women have to work harder. And then if you think about the society, childbirth, all of those things. So I have never seen it that way. I've never seen it as being, oh, let's make it easier for a female, let's just find a female to fill a role. I've thought of it more as, how do we level the playing field such that everybody has an equal opportunity.
And I think it's a really interesting point, because I absolutely agree with what you're saying, but I do think there is still, shall we say, that stigma in society that actually people see it as they need to have a female to tick a box. And absolutely it shouldn't be about that. It's actually about making sure, and how, as you say, we level that playing field. Because we, as society, over the last 20, 30 years, or kind of in our generation, shall we say, we've moved much more to kind of both parents working. So there's that just general recognition in society that there's a leveling and playing field. So it's also about making sure kind of we are flexible as kind of employers to recognize that it's not necessarily just females that need kind of that work-life balance, but it's also the dads. You're a dad,
right.
it's that balance. And by having that overall recognition of kind of the balance of, should we say, parenthood and working career aspirations, I think ultimately that's how we help more females in the profession as well, and try and level up that playing field.
Good stuff. So the other question for you is, so how do you plan your own retirement, shall we say? How do you invest your own retirement money?
So I kind of I leave it to the expert, shall we say? Right. And that's me. No. So my main retirement fund is in a SIPP with Killick. So I have every confidence in kind of their investment expertise and what they're doing. And then I have my group pension through Succession. And basically look after that myself and focus on kind of the investment solutions. I think the key thing for me is, given that I have no plans to touch my retirement fund over the next before 20 years time, it's my higher risk money, shall we say. I'm quite cautious in day-to-day life, but I don't pay too much attention to kind of that, because I trust the team at Killick to be sort of on it, shall we say, from an investment market perspective. But I do check in from time to time to make sure that, the overall financial plan or life plan is broadly on track, that I will be able to sort of live the life that I want to live in retirement.
Brilliant. And the final question, what's the biggest financial mistake you've ever made?
I don't think I've necessarily made any financial mistakes per se, but what I would say is, what's the biggest area that I've wasted money, and therefore you could arguably say is kind of a financial mistake, is over the years I've definitely lost money on cars. I quite enjoy kind of cars, and I've been through a few over my time. As in been through them because I've got bored of what I've got and thought, oh, I like that new shiny thing. And so,
what do you drive right now? What do you drive? Well, not like you're driving any. What do you have in the garage?
Well, I was going to say that, over the years I've definitely lost money on cars, but that all changed. I mean, day to day I drive a 10-year-old Mini. But the reason I drive a 10-year-old Mini, because about 18 months ago, I bought the car that I've always wanted, which is a 1974 Californian convertible Beetle that sits in the garage, and that is an investment. So I finally, hopefully, in years to come, will make up for kind of the money I've lost on cars over the years.
This is fascinating. You bought your dream car and you parked it in the garage, and then you're driving it's incredible stuff. Sarah Lord, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. And I hope that when all of this is over, we can sit down for a drink. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Abraham. Thank you.
Now a word from our sponsor. Kate Birchbarry is the Enterprise Business Development Manager at Timeline. Kate, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Timeline.
Thanks, Abraham. Yeah, so I work alongside the financial planning industry to help them build compelling, innovative and dynamic pre- and post-retirement planning solution. And I guess simply put, my mission is to get all of us, be it consumers, financial advisors, pension providers, workplace journeys to consumers, thinking differently about the way that we plan for and maximise a client's savings in retirement, and fundamentally to ensure that the money outlives the people.
Brilliant, brilliant stuff, Kate. Thank you very much. What problem is Timeline really solving?
Great question. Thanks, Abraham. I think in truth, Timeline helps with a number of problems. But the first thing I want to highlight is how deaccumulation is different. So I think it helps identify the different strategies and solutions that need to be applied when somebody reaches a point in their retirement journey when they need to consider, actually, how do I access my money? What's the best way of investing as I go into my deaccumulation journey? How do I ensure that if I'm used to receiving a certain paycheck, for example, how could one replicate that in their retirement journey to ensure that the lifestyle that they've been accustomed to continues for them in there? They've worked hard, they've built that pot through the accumulation journey, they've listened and heeded to advice given to them. So I think for me, the problem is around understanding. It's about making sure that people recognise the different strategies and solutions that need to be applied when they reach the accumulation part of their retirement journey.
And that's it for this edition of Retirementals. I'll be remiss if I don't thank my incredible team who worked very hard to put this program together, led by my producer, Hannah Dickinson. Thank you very much, guys. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Timeline app, the retirement planning software, and Batefolio, the high-tech, low-cost flat fee model portfolio manager. And to you, our listeners, thank you for your time. I hope you've had as much fun listening to the program as we have making it. You can find more about the show at retirementals.co.uk, and you can follow me on Twitter. My handle is Abraham on Money. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.